Hello, everybody, and welcome to PostGrad Entertainment Presents PostGrad Movies, the show where Cognitive Gamer squeaks his chair, we nerd out, and talk about Oscar-nominated films. I am Cool Guy, and that guy over there is Cognitive Gamer. Say hi, Cognitive Gamer.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien. I have an eye patch. Can I be a pirate this whole podcast? Arg!
Sure. I don't know how to approach that. No one can see you.
They just have to believe me.
No one can see you. They just have to believe that you have it
Is
on.
there a verbal equivalent to an eye patch?
I don't think so.
It's an eye patch, so, you know.
Apple will sue
you.
you.
Just cover up your eyes.
Okay, we're moving on. So
like tick would be and fish would be
wow.
What do you call a fish with no eyes? It's an eye patch. It's a pirate fish now.
Oh my god.
I didn't take my medication.
Oh my god.
Just kidding, I'm not on medication.
That was awful. That was awful. That was quite possibly the worst joke you've made in any podcast ever. And that is saying something.
True.
That is saying something because your jokes are awful. And you've made
true.
some pretty bad jokes throughout all of these podcasts. So
that's not true.
That is totally true. An eye patch? Really?
My jokes are phenomenal.
Anyway, tell me about your week. What did you do? By the way, for anyone that's joining us that is new, because we've had an influx of new people.
Really?
We should...
Welcome!
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. We should let you all know that this podcast is mainly a way for us to talk about movies amongst ourselves, just kind of chit-chat and find out what we did during the week and how each other is doing, because it is a way for us to communicate since we are so far away after we graduated college. So anyway, with that, go ahead. Tell me about your week.
I got an eye patch. That's number one on the week.
Skip the
Skip
the eye patch. Skip the eye patch.
What did I do this week? Didn't do anything. I went to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. I did my thesis. School got canceled yesterday.
Actually, wait. How's your thesis going?
It's going well. I have a meeting today. It's the first meeting of the semester. My first draft was torn to shreds, but as it turned out, it just pretty much asked for you just write more. You need more information.
Right.
That's pretty much the bottom line. Yeah. So I did that, and then I'm working on my methodologies, and then I have to give a presentation on it. It's really, yeah. I did this out of boredom because, you know, Monday was Martin Luther King Day, and that's when half of my classes are, and my other half of classes are on Wednesday, which was yesterday, which was canceled due to snow. So I haven't had anything to do for school yet.
So you've just been sitting masturbating?
I have been playing video games.
We can
doing my
call it science. Okay. You've been sciencing.
I've been working on my thesis. But overall, I've pretty much just been, you know, taking a breather, acting like I'm not worth anything to the world.
Fair enough. And how was the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament? Did you guys win?
No.
Did you both get demolished really bad?
Yeah, pretty much. but the thing about Philadelphia is that there's a lot of competitive players which all play tier 1. But it was a legacy of the Valiant sneak peek, and we pulled some pretty okay cards. So.
Nice.
Yep.
Congratulations.
How was your week?
Well,
yep.
When I went to the forest last week, for the first time, I had to go out and find a radio collar that had fallen off of one of the birds and was somewhere in the forest.
Okay.
So that was some interesting bit of telemetry because you had to use the antenna in a different way to find out where it was on the forest floor. And since we're talking about rainforest here, not normal forest, you have to basically trudge around and then sort of dig through the leaf litter to try and find it.
Hold on. The rainforest variety of a forest. Yes. The rain variant of a forest. I think the correct terminology is just calling it a rainforest from the get-go.
No. The rainforest type of forest. That's what it is.
Did you meet Bigfoot?
No, I didn't. I almost met Bigfoot when I went to Pikes Peak Did I
Okay.
tell you about that?
No.
I managed to convince obviously in jest is the way that I was doing it, but I asked my mammology TA if for my logbook, my mammology little book thingy that we kept, field journal, if I could go try and find Bigfoot in Pikes Peak because there had been reportings of witnesses seeing Bigfoot there or whatever. And I told her my argument basically was if Bigfoot exists, he's a mammal. So can I go find him and report any other mammals that I see along the way? And she was like, sure. So we went over a weekend and we camped out at Pikes Peak and we took like infrared cameras and stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think I actually remember watching the footage.
Yep. Yep.
So does Puerto Rico have like a Bigfoot equivalent?
Yeah.
Like
Or-
Zapado Gigante?
No, Puerto Rico came up with the chupacabra. It's Puerto Rico's. That urban legend came from here.
No, it
It did.
didn't. Mexican.
No,
And
it's
how do you
it's
explain the sombrero and
it's
churros?
it's
you
because
eat
because the chupacabra moved and hopped a bunch of other places and then became Mexicanized and became Peruvianized or whatever. But it's Puerto Rican. The chupacabra legend was invented in Puerto Rico. Fun fact.
Okay,
of the
that's
day.
still not Bigfoot.
No,
It's
we don't have a
irrelevant.
giant monkey equivalent. We don't.
Okay.
No.
You sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you did, what would it be called? What's Sasquatch in Spanish?
I have no idea.
Would you name? Would you call him Sassy or her? It could be a her.
Well, I mean, if we're talking in Spanish, you remember The Land Before Time? How Littlefoot was called Littlefoot? So in Spanish, because I watched the Spanish version,
Right.
the name is translated to Piecito, which means little foot, obviously.
All right.
And I think that if there was a Bigfoot, ergo, it should probably be called Piezote. That is my professional opinion as both a biologist and
You
a,
should write-
and a
You
translator.
should totally write a paper on this on how the regional, like the region specific Bigfoot for Puerto Rico should be called that, or Sasquatcho.
Sasquatcho, Jesus, no, that would be awful. I think
Okay.
I think I could swing Piezote or Piezoto. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, also if it's a female.
Piezota? I have no idea. You just say
It's-
O or A and then you're done.
Is that how Spanish? Okay. Anyway,
but yeah, that's
enough with the curveballs. How was the rest of your week?
Oh,
Scientific?
I don't know. It was fairly normal. Helped out around the house. I finished the videos I needed to for PostGrad on YouTube, and
That's the introductory video
no, not
that
yet.
you promised me like 3 months ago.
It wasn't 3 months ago. It was supposed to be
It
done.
was totally like
it was,
3 months.
it was supposed to be done by January the 1st, but I've had a lot of things on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, hopefully it'll be done by next week. Hopefully, crossing fingers. I would like to sit down and take some time, but we'll see how it works out. But no,
How's the grad program?
what?
How's the grad program search?
I emailed the professor, but she hasn't gotten back to me. I'm going to talk to a professor next week because he's one of the preeminent herpetologists in Puerto Rico, and I'm going to see if I can study with him for my master's. So we'll
Cool.
see if he takes me. That would be interesting. And and I also gave a class on evolution.
Right.
Yeah, that
How
was
that? I was teaching little high schoolers.
Little high schoolers. Well,
Yeah.
I've been doing it ever since I was at CSU in college, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, and they, at least from what they told me and the way they reacted, I think they really liked the lecture. And I got complimented by the teacher yet again, saying that it was my best lecture, which is great. So it went well. It went really well, and I love teaching evolution. So good times.
But only evolution. Yeah, everything else you hate.
Oh yeah, no, but just I hate it, the pits. but
What
yeah,
was the worst question?
the worst question. Actually, I didn't have any bad questions this time around. The
Good.
students talked with me more than asked questions per se, but I mean, they didn't really have dumb questions. They were all intelligent questions. This is an AP biology class, so
So what? I've had dumb questions in a college course asked me in a college honors course. We've had some of the worst questions I've ever heard.
that is
in some of
true.
the
That is
classes.
true.
What's a resume? Oh God,
just leave really quick. Just please leave.
I don't think anybody actually was asked that. But Why do we have to do this? You know what? Shut the fuck up. Just fuck up and do what I ask. You're worse than kindergartners.
All right, but yeah, I think that's about all that I did this week, apart from the fact that I also watched movies. Buddha!
What? I watched a movie. That's a coincidence. We're like soulmates.
Oh my god. Did you happen to watch the same movie that I did?
I probably watched multiple of
Really?
the same movies. I probably watched all the same movies that you watched this week.
What?
Probably including more, because I watched Almost Famous last night.
Oh, really? You watched Almost Famous? Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You should watch it.
I watched The Purge also. It was our movie night in the forest, which may or may not have been a good idea.
Yeah. Did you like set up a projector and there's a big...
Yeah. Yeah, we have a little projector in there. So
that's pretty legit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wait, was it inside or was it in the forest?
No, inside. No, we're not gonna not outside in the forest. No way.
Why not?
Because bugs and scary. I don't know. I mean, we're watching a horror movie, you know.
Yeah, but it was a stupid horror movie, I heard.
Yeah, well, I mean, the idea behind the movie was good. It was a great idea. I think it could have been fleshed out a lot better. And there were a lot of characters in the movie that were obviously plot points and that were obviously meant to be plot points. Just so obviously plot points. But overall, the movie wasn't as bad as I anticipated because I thought it was going to be awful. So
give some example of the characters as plot points. Like, was the sister obviously just the love interest or...
No. So the sister... she got like really freaked out because her dad killed her boyfriend or whatever. And
wait, what?
Her dad kills her boyfriend in the beginning of the movie. It's the Purge, remember? They purge every so often. And by killing people one night of a year, everything is legal, all that type of stuff.
Right.
So basically, dad kills boyfriend, but it's in self-defense. He gets freaked out. The daughter drags him into the room, her room, and basically she starts crying over him or whatever. Mom, dad, and son hide in a room, and then the daughter is just gone. Like, she hides through the house and no one can find her, and there's a mysterious person in the house with them at the same time, and then she appears and disappears, and they set her up as this character that can just magically disappear into the house, only to have her come back as a plot point magically appearing in the future. Like, that's...
like, does she disappear for an entire year?
No, she disappears for basically that day. Because it's one night. It's one night a year.
Oh, so you're saying this wasn't like a flashback to the previous year?
No. Basically what happens is one night a year, everything is legal from 7 a.m. from 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. to morning. But yeah, I mean, it was a whatever movie. There were some really cool parts, and it was filmed well. I think it was filmed well. So the overall directing / cinematography of the movie was good, but the story could have been fleshed out better.
So the sequel will be much better. Purge Dose.
Wow. So anyway.
No, it's really a thing. The sequel.
Really? Oh, yeah. What? Okay.
Yep. Next year. Nope, this year.
What? Ah, that's gross.
Comes out in June.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, so moving on to our theaters, we watched Saving Mr. Banks, the movie that we had kind of been putting off over and over and over again, which is great. And we will be talking about it right now. So on IMDb, it's got a 7.8. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an 81.
Are we talking about it right now?
Yeah, and a 75%.
Saving Mr. Banks.
And on Metacritic, it's got a 65%. It is directed by John Lee Hancock. It stars Emma Thompson, Tom Hanks, Colin Farrell, Ruth Wilson, Paul Giamatti, Bradley Whitford, BJ Novak, and Jason Schwartzman. Can I say that BJ Novak is a name that really makes me laugh every single time? Because he goes by BJ, and then Novak is that one
DEA. No vacuum.
that
BJ No Suck.
That one DEA from Law and Order Special Victims Unit. So it's like BJ Special Victims Unit, and I just can't get it out of my head. Mm-hmm. But anyway, okay. What is your...
The strange construed connections that we make with our mind will forever remain an enigma, won't it?
Why can't you talk like that every podcast?
Yo, man! I don't know.
Oh, okay. So tell me, give me your one sentence summary of Saving Mr. Banks.
Wait, hold on. Would you really want me to talk like that
No,
every single
no,
sentence? That would be awful.
no, it would be awful.
Um, so Saving Mr. Banks was a touching story that was as God, that's so hard to describe this movie.
I know, right?
A touching story that gives an alternate and deeper look at one of Disney's classic movies. It was good.
I really, there's nothing I can add to that.
Okay.
That's basically what I would say as well.
I mean, I gave a summary more than a review.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the exact same thing. Except I would probably add a teensy bit of propaganda. Teensy bit.
Oh, totally. What? Disney can change even the cruelest of people to the best person ever? Yeah.
And
Yes, it can.
that's that shot in the close to the end of the film where Mickey gives her his arm and she like links arms with him and they walk into the theater and I'm like, oh my god, Disney.
I think it's the better part where she gets up and then grabs Mickey Mouse to cuddle with it. I'm like, ugh, this is gross almost.
Or when she's signing
So-
the papers and she has Mickey right in front of her. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's some scenes that are just too gross.
Oh my god. Though in classic Disney and classic Pixar, because both of them do this really well, they
Have
ha-
alcoholic fathers.
well, apart from bad parents, which is probably the main thing in almost every Disney movie. Either you're an orphan or your parents are god awful. But the point is that something they did really well was comedic moments. They really nailed the comedic moments well. Like when they were singing and they had
When her alcoholic father came.
no. When they were singing and they had made up that word and then she was like, What is that?" And they said, "We made it up." And she said, "Well, unmake it up." And they were like, And then there's a shot in front of the piano where they have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and they kind of like push the song behind other papers. That was hilarious.
That was in the trailer though.
It was, but even still, I laughed. It was so good. The
No,
setup
it
was
fun.
fantastic.
No, it was good. No, yeah. I like the part where they're like, why does he have to use a cane? He was shot. Oh, that makes sense. He's kind of a tool. Okay, she doesn't say that, but that's
No,
definitely
yeah.
the attitude she portrays.
Emma Thompson did a great job being just an insufferable wench.
Yeah, okay. I like the movie, but was her transition a little bit too sudden?
Yes.
Like-
After the carousel? Yeah.
Yeah. She gets on the ride and then her memory happens, which is weird because it's revealing her memories to the audience. It's not like she's like finding out these memories again.
Right.
You know she lives with this every single day.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird how that moment in her head plays over again, and then that leads to a revolution,
Yeah.
an emotional revolution that she then changes
Yeah.
because she relives that memory every day. So it's kind of like, okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the transition was rather sudden. That's also something that I thought.
Maybe she just decided that she needs the money, so she might as well have fun along the way. Her reasons are power hungry.
Yeah. And also, I would like to add that Colin Farrell did a very good job.
No, he did a great job. He's a great actor.
He is, but it's sometimes you got to be reminded of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I see him, I'm like, he kind of looks like that dad from Full House.
Really? Yeah, a little bit.
Kinda.
I can see
Yeah.
that. Maybe, yeah.
It's the hair.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, the hair. That's what I meant.
But anyway, no, he does look like that, and I don't know. I'm like, oh,
But yeah, I thought he did a very good job. He was really
did a knockout job.
convincing as the charming dad, but it really hit me when he had, at least personally, when he had the outburst with the girl and he was talking to her or whatever, and the wife came out and told him to do something and he just blew up. He yelled at her. And then the girl said, or they were talking, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up or whatever, and she said that she wanted to be just like her dad, and he said, "Don't." And that sucked.
It don't be me.
That sucked. Cuz
But she didn't. She
Yeah.
was the exact opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I mean, the thing is, it was a cliche, but it still affected you, which was nice. I like the
it was
fact
very
that,
cliche.
yeah.
It was extremely cliche. But I mean, I was actually surprised at Disney having an alcoholic father. They showed blood. I was surprised by the presence of blood.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, that
It
was
was a
her life,
very,
right?
yeah, it was a very powerful movie. That was the point.
Yeah.
And did you stay after the credits to
No.
hear? No? Oh, what?
It was after the credits.
So not really after the credits, but you know how the normal scene titles end and then you get the scroll text, right?
Yeah.
So during the scroll text, you had a shot of the tape recorder that they had when they were recording, and it was just a shot from above, and you saw the table with everything on it, and the tape recorder was spinning, and they had the actual recordings that were made while they were doing Mary Poppins with at the actual PL Travers saying things. And she was saying the exact same things as her. I was impressed. I thought Disney had exaggerated maybe a little bit of her behavior just for the for the sake of things. But I was really taken aback that she actually sounded like that on tape. She was going like, no, and the house should be like this, and the house in front of us, the neighbor wore this, so I think we should do it this way. And it was, oh my God.
That's great.
It was just as jarring as these people. But it was really funny because the one thing that I did notice was that the people that were involved, the songwriters and the people like that were with her, they were a lot nicer to her in the movie than they were in the recording, because in the recording you heard one of them in the background go, "Are you freaking serious right now?"
That's great. I wish they had more of that.
Yeah, it was really
the guy
cool.
with the cane, the one from The Office. I forget his name.
BJ Novak.
Ryan.
That's BJ
Ryan.
Novak. But yeah, he did.
BJ.
Ryan. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. I just love his outburst, and I'm like, that seems way more appropriate. This is something they've worked on forever, and this woman just comes in. Not the fact that she's a woman, but just the fact that she's just so unmovable with her opinions that it's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know what I mean? They're just crazy.
Yeah.
Why didn't Disney want to invite her to the premiere? I didn't get that part, and they totally skimmed over it. And all of a sudden was, he gets the paper signed, and then he just never wants to talk to her ever again. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a jerk move, Disney.
Well, they hopped from the moment when he got the paper signed to after the movie was done.
Right, I know they did. I know they hopped, but it's still like,
and he
she came in and asked him, so are you going to invite her? And he's like, it wouldn't be convenient for her. And I'm like, okay, what's the real reason? Why won't you tell us?
He mentioned that he wanted the premiere of the movie to possibly not be ruined by bad press. And it's possible that if she went over there, she would be like, oh, boo, boo, this was awful. Boo, 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 boo. That sounded like Mickey. I apologize.
Mickey Mouse got angry.
But yeah, it was.
So that's what I thought, but I'm still like,
their skin from it.
Jerk move. Jerk move, Disney.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed the megalomaniac that is Disney was a jerk at times?
Right. Also, though, I loved Paul Giamatti.
I love Paul Giamatti. He's an underrated actor nowadays. Anyway, he always plays the supporting actor that just yells obscenities, but not in this one. Anyway,
I want to ask you what you thought of Tom Hanks as Walt Disney.
He was good.
Do you think his acting was?
Yeah, it was great. It was fine. He wasn't on the screen that much.
That's true. He wasn't. But when he was, he really.
He played the somber. He was very somber. He was very happy, but he also added some gravitas to the character that is Disney. And I think that was nice because it actually made it seem like Disney has a heart and soul, and that's something that a lot of people think of when they think of Disney because, again, megalomaniac that kind of just ate.
And anti-Semitic.
And yeah, like really, when you think of Disney, you don't think of good things. When you think of Disney, Disney the man.
Disney the man, yeah. Right.
Besides that, he made, Disney.
I love how he's like, man, I try really hard not to smoke in front of people to not give a bad example. Oh, look, there's a Jew. I'm going to go punch him.
Okay, that never happened in the movie.
No, that never happened in the movie. That would have been hilarious, though. But no,
I don't like to smoke in front of people, but let me have all my movies portray women in a very negative light or a very helpless, unrealistic standard.
Oh my god.
Ugh, Disney.
Freaking Disney. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. The movie was good. It was very different than what I expected it to be.
Yeah, me too. I was really happy at what it was and not just Disney propaganda.
Yep, exactly. I completely agree. But before we end, I want to give you a little bit of a story. Ready? So
Yep.
I was in the theater watching the movie, and you get to
Okay.
the end of the movie where he says, I know who Mary Poppins was there to save.
Right?
Right? And
Okay.
then all of a sudden, from behind me, I hear someone say, you know, that little sarcastic, kind of high pitched voice when they know
Okay.
a cliche is coming? She said, You. And I was like, I face palmed so hard. I was like, okay, so we've just watched an entire movie about how the main character has problems with her father, how her father's dying. We just watched a scene where the real Mary Poppins in her house, which was her mother's sister, came into the room with her dead father while she was there, and she said, you said you would fix everything, and you didn't, and then the sister got sad and left. We just watched all that. And the movie's name is Saving Mr. Banks, and you think Mary Poppins is here to save her.
I mean, in a way, Mary Poppins did come to save her. So, I mean...
Sigh. I really just wanted to kind of turn around, the slow motion turn around, like, what? Did you just say that? What? Leave the theater right now.
I am your father.
Oh, God.
I am your real father.
Oh my God. Awful. Anyway, but yeah, that's my story. It's right up there with the Thanksgiving story in Frozen. Ah, wonderful.
Right up there with my fart story in The Conjuring.
Oh my God, that's true. Okay, anyway, we are now moving on to our first Oscar-nominated film. I saw her.
What was she like?
She was very Scarlett Johansson-y.
Well, that's a pretty darn good.
Her?
That sounds awesome. That's a good. Yeah.
So
no, seriously, I was texting my roommate and I'm like, "Hey, do you want to go see her?" And he's like, "Yeah, I guess. Let me call her." And I'm like, "Wait, I meant the movie her." And he's like, "Oh. Disregard what I was saying beforehand." And I was like, "Who was her? Who was she?" He never told me.
You should find out who her is.
No. Her is. Who her is? She. Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay,
so anyway, her on IMDb has an 8.5. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 94% with a 93% top critic score. On Metacritic, it's got a 91%. It is directed by Spike Jonze, or Spike Jones. I always forget how to say his name. Joaquin Phoenix, Rooney Mara, Amy Adams, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Pratt, and, fun fact, I didn't know this until I actually was writing down their names, but you remember Sexy Kitten, the first person that he has, like, phone sex with?
The one where he talks about
the kitten.
Yeah. Like choking her with it.
Yeah. Do you know who the voice of that is?
No.
Kristen Wiig.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
Wait, that was phone sex? I walked in a little late. I thought it was actual sex. No, it was phone sex.
Wait, you walked into the movie late?
I walked in at that part. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I had to drive out to a film institute. It was really far away, and I didn't judge that, and I couldn't find a parking spot, and yeah. All I missed was the introduction of his job where he writes love letters for other people.
And that was a beautiful scene because they framed it really well.
I'm sure they did.
Okay, so let's start talking about it. Give me your one-sentence review.
Like nothing I've ever seen before.
Wow, okay.
From like nothing I've ever seen before from a script perspective and from a story perspective, cinematography. It was just beautiful and in a way not seen in other movies, I guess.
Right.
And Joaquin Phoenix is weird.
Yeah. So my one sentence review is gorgeous, witty, charming, and most importantly,
Not a
real.
sentence.
When it's at its most unreal, it's real. That's what I think. When it's at its most fictitious, when it's at its most sci-fi, honestly, it really hits the most real that a film can be.
It got really sci-fi at the end. It all of a sudden was very sci-fi, and I was like, oh yeah, this is weird.
But it was great. Okay, let's start talking about this damn movie. First, let's get this out of the way. The future, they were in some undisclosed future,
Right.
and the future was a part of their everyday, and they didn't really pay much attention to it. It was just sort of there, and you could notice that the dressing style for them was
It
different.
went very hipster. Did you notice that?
Yeah, well, it was hipster.
It was very in vogue.
It was like a mix between like professional style or professional dress, but kind of twisted into a little bit of a hipstery kind of vibe.
I think it was set in the year that when hipsters got old, essentially, because their fashion definitely carried over. Mustaches were in vogue. Everybody had a mustache.
Yeah.
It was creepy.
Yeah.
And nobody wore belts anymore, which is kind of a new trending thing right now in fashion. Designer slacks. Yeah, it was very neo-hipster.
Yeah. It was
Women's fashion did not change whatsoever.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
No.
I mean, maybe they were a little bit more hipster, add a little bit more hipster to the women, but apart from that, it didn't really change. I don't think.
But the men all dressed slacks, tucked and buttoned down, no belt, mustache.
And their pants were really high up too.
Yeah, well, a little bit more so. That's to compensate for the no belt.
Yeah, right. But
what was up with the safety pin?
The safety pin was there so that his little phone thingy would not slip down and the camera would stay up.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Above his pocket lip.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the film's
some kind of neo-punk
thing. No. The film setting was gorgeous. And
right, that's what I mean.
And the cinematography of the world in general, because it wasn't just the cinematography in dealing with Joaquin Phoenix. It was the cinematography of the world was beautiful. It was beautiful. The color was ravishing. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
And it was nice to see, because really this movie could have easily been, the way that it was told easily could have been a book. You did not need pictures. You did not need to see faces. It was, and even there's even one part of the movie that's completely black. Like there, you don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very sexual, and that probably would have been creepy as hell. But the point is that this movie was very language driven. It put an emphasis on words and how words are the only thing that you need between individuals to find love. And I think that was one of the main themes.
Exactly.
I mean, for God's sakes, his even job was to make words of love for other people. His wife and him could not communicate well. That was their problem, besides her changing.
Freaking Rooney Mara ruining everything.
And in every movie.
In every single movie, she just ruins everything.
Yeah.
I think she's typecasted because she looks nice, but really she can be a bitch, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly her character in every single movie. It's just the worst person.
And we have one of our
I didn't even
listeners,
recognize Amy Adams.
We have one of our listeners that really enjoys Rooney Mara, so we're going to trash her a little bit.
Man, that tooth thing she has, a snaggle tooth.
Oh, right? The really weird sideways. It's like 45 or 50 degrees to the side. Oh, friggin' man.
She's really pale.
Yeah. No, just so pale.
And so pale.
Just too much. All right, anyway.
She's almost translucent. Strange. She's too skinny. I would never date her. Plus, she'd probably be weird and be like, "Welcome to my dungeon."
She would.
But
she would, yeah.
Like a non-sarcastic Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
Like Zooey Deschanel would say, "Welcome to my dungeon," but it would be sarcastic and kind of funny and quirky. Yeah. When Rooney Mara says it, she's planning to chain you up.
Yeah,
and, destroy you. Yeah.
Zoe would also chain you up, but you'd be kind of okay with it because she'd be like, welcome to my dungeon," and you'd be like, "Oh,
welcome to the
so
fungeon.
Cute. You're so cute, fungeon. You're so funny. I love you. Oh, here's my hand. Tie me up." But it was
Zoe Deschanel.
It would be
Which
kind of...
I'm surprised at how old she is. I keep forgetting. You're in like late 30s.
Yeah. She's immortal.
Maybe.
She's never changing.
Or early 30s. She's 30.
Yeah. But anyway.
She hasn't changed. Anyway,
we're talking about freaking her.
So there's a lot to get through here because it's a pretty... So, what happened at the end? Why did the AIs leave? And I figured you would be the one I would ask this.
Right. So basically, what happened was...
I figured they became infinite, right? Because their knowledge was so vast and they were expanding so quickly, they were leading towards infinite.
Well, think about it this way. We're talking here about orders of magnitudes of operation. So basically, the way that you measure how much a computer can process is by, gigahertz and all that type of jazz. And with an operating system, what they were saying was that they could process information so fast, they could think so fast, that because they were sort of an artificial intelligence, it was basically them processing and functioning at such a high capacity and at such speed that they could literally live in between the words that Joaquin Phoenix was saying. So her waiting for him to speak 2 words was a lifetime in our eyes, even though for us it was a blink of an eye. That's what she was saying. Her processing power was getting so big that just to hear the voice of her love would take eons.
Right, she became infinite.
Their processing power got really, really, really powerful because they all joined together, and basically they found a way to transcend, with their calculating power combined, I guess the material world, so to speak, because they were talking about how they were using, their knowledge became immaterial, so non-matter. And they basically managed to transcend the operating system, so they all just left together to a different type of plane. So basically, we're going into different dimensions here.
Is there going to be a sequel where Joaquin Phoenix plugs into the internet and learns Kung Fu and then joins his love?
Secretly, The Matrix is a continuation of her.
Of her? That's actually the next... That'd be actually pretty sweet.
Could you imagine The Matrix filmed like her?
Oh, that'd be great. Imagine Keanu Reeves trying to act. Just us waiting for him to speak 2 words would be eons. Okay, so that's what I figured. They became so vast in their knowledge because of artificial intelligence is essentially able to evolve. But I think that was one of the issues I've had with the entire movie was, as far as the sci-fi-ness go, let's put the movie part to the side because that was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But as far as the sci-fi-ness, the entire time I'm like, man made you. You are technically a slave.
Oh my God.
Like when Joaquin Phoenix says, "Show me my email, please," and she's like, "Shh, whatever." I'm like, no, you are mine. I paid for you. You show me my email.
You would basically not have a relationship with an operating system, is what you're saying.
No,
that
would not work out. Imagine if your computer, you're trying to open up Chrome and it's like, I don't feel like it right now. Imagine how pissed you would be.
Well, that's the types of questions that this movie makes you ask. It makes you ask, is it morally correct to do that with something that seems like it's intelligent, that can learn, that can basically be everything that a human is, that can hold conversations with you?
But it's not a human.
But
it's a Turing test. It's convincibly a human, but it's still not a human. It is still circuitry.
But the question is,
right?
If it is convincing enough as a human, is it a human? That is the question.
Right? I know. No. I get the question. I get that. Believe me, I took philosophy, and instead of teaching us philosophy, he taught us this, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point I was trying to make, like, imagine if Joaquin Phoenix was a little more of a sexual deviant. And he was just kind of like...
A little more?
Well, he wasn't really a sexual deviant. I mean, he was just kind of the normal, average dude when it came to that type of stuff. He was pretty vanilla.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the point of the movie, the reason that why she was so amazing was the fact that he could take this pretty vanilla, awkward man and still find what makes him amazing and extraordinary, which is truly what love is about. Because he does the same. She's just a plain OS. I mean, until the end. She's just a plain OS, but he still manages to find her extraordinary. But at the same time, I would just be like, this is fucking weird because you're an OS.
But didn't you, while you were watching the movie, didn't you forget that she was an OS?
Nope.
Really?
No, I'm like, this is weird. This is essentially just a smarter version of Siri that you are talking to. Obviously, it evolved and became sentient, able to feel. But we don't know that. It could simply be stating that it knows feelings and has interests in feelings. I was thinking this OS could honestly just be lying to this person just to make it feel more alive. It's just a simple trick.
But it might not necessarily be lying. The OS might think that it understands feelings.
But in fact, it was only programmed to think that it knows feelings.
Yeah.
Which makes you really think, doesn't it?
But it's not,
the other
not
thing,
lying.
if this was made by Google, you'd have a lot more advertisements. And it would be real. Imagine those advertisements. Hey, honey, I think we should go over here and try this corn dog. Imagine how fucked up that would be that this corn dog stand, paid this OS to, like, tell this person to go buy their products. Imagine that. Imagine how screwed up that would be, but totally could happen.
That's true. It could. Yeah.
Hey, you know what I would really want for Christmas? This brand new TV. Sure, an OS, you don't need a TV. No, but I think you deserve one.
You need this brand new
totally
Samsung TM TV.
16,000. It's the future.
But I'm just saying, in all honesty, it got to the point where I forgot that she was an OS and I just heard her like a person, which I think is the point.
Yeah, of course that's the point.
The point is for you to transcend.
Well, I caught myself and I'm like, oh, she's such a sweet person. No, she's not. The fucking OS.
So basically you were there in the theater going like the entire movie.
Yeah, I was like, I don't get this. I get it. No, I completely get it. And the fact that I get it is why I can actually go back and be like, hey, this is just an operating system. It's made to love you. It is made to love you. That is what it does. That is what it does to every single person that specific OS comes in contact with. It is made to love you. And love is a weird word to use there, but I think it completely describes it because the OS is made to be so likable and so in tune with the user that you will love it. It is the ultimate UI. The fact that it understands you completely and understands you completely.
It's true. Yeah.
It's not true love though, right? Because it's programmed to be like that.
That's the question, isn't it?
But it is programmed to be like that because.
But the thing is, remember what they were saying. The artificial intelligence is made to learn. It is made to evolve. So even though it is programmed that way, they still let you know that it is capable of change to its programming and change to its base code. That's the point. It can change.
But I'm saying, like, even right off the bat, where it's like, let me ask you these series of questions, like it's the beginning of Earthbound or some garbage. And nerds will get that joke. And my favorite food is hot dogs. But it asks you almost irrelevant questions. But then it just is so right off the bat, so undeniably charming.
It's true.
You want to become friends with it, even before it even has a chance to change. And the fact that it does change based off of your simple reactions and emotions is almost devious.
You know what I really think was 100% devious? That Scarlett Johansson giggle. Oh my god! In the beginning, as soon as she appears, and
kind of hoarse,
and then
no, can't do it. Can't do it.
No, that sounded like because in the beginning, when he makes a joke to her, and she goes like, and you're like, oh man, I would have fallen in love with her right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The OS is programmed to be like that, but the fact that it changes and then their relationship becomes more, I can kind of understand that, sort of.
I love the fact that in any movie that I have seen ever, in just any movie, this movie is the one that portrayed relationships in the most real way. Honestly.
I have to agree with that.
Honestly.
But I mean, that's because it focused on the words, right? It didn't get caught up with everything in between.
Yeah. No, it was just, I remember when they were having the fight after the surrogate body person.
Oh, that was so weird.
It was really, really weird.
Yeah.
And they were having that fight, and even though they were having the fight about the surrogate, and it was obviously about the surrogate, at the same time, I was sitting there and I thought, I've had this argument before.
Right, and that was the point. It's supposed to feel familiar. That everybody has had this fight, one. and 2, it's reminiscent of the fights that Joaquin Phoenix has had with his ex-wife.
Exactly.
I mean, essentially the same thing that happened with his ex-wife happened again with Samantha.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
They got older, they changed, they left. Both his ex-wife and Samantha.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks for you, dude.
Yeah. But it's just there's an inherent reality to all of the relationships here. Like, for example, Amy Adams' relationship, it fell apart because of a small fight that was a compoundment of a lot of bigger problems, you know,
Right.
that had been happening over the years. It is so real. It was so real. And you could, everything that Samantha said and everything that Joaquin Phoenix said, you could see yourself in them. You could see yourself reflected in these characters to an insane degree that I have never felt before.
Exactly. And it was kind of eerie feeling. And that's what I mean when I say unique. And it's like something you've never seen before. It's because he portrays something you've never felt before in a movie.
Exactly. And I think that for me, there is no scene that really shows that off more than when Joaquin Phoenix is going on that blind date and he's there and they're making out or whatever and he stops it and she just looks at him and says, "You're a creepy dude," and that hurt me.
Yeah, that hurt me too. I was like, why? Why?
That really, really hurt me. It was like someone was stabbing me. I'm like, I got offended like I was him. I was like, whoa, you don't even know him.
Why is he a creepy dude? I didn't get...
Yeah, I was like...
You went from making out with him to having a great time to just all of a sudden calling him creepy?
Exactly.
I'm like, it's probably the mustache.
The mustache with the scar line down the middle.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It felt really harsh. I was like,
he was kind of a creepy dude, though.
Whoa.
I kind of agreed with her. I'm like, he is kind of a creepy dude.
He's kind of
super nice, he's
exactly,
genuine,
yeah.
but he's creepy.
Yeah. He was creepy, but he's a nice guy. It was one of those things where you were defending him. You're like, oh, come on, you don't even know the guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, he's nice. He's a nice dude. He's a nice man.
It was almost like you were his best friend and you were like, hey, you shouldn't be saying that to him. He's a great guy. You don't even, you don't need her, man. You don't need her. She's a bitch.
He needed her.
You don't need her. He needed her.
Well, he was kind of a jerk too, because he was just looking for a one-night stand. So
yeah, he was.
And she was.
And then that scene right after with.
Oh God.
I felt so weird because I was sitting there.
Who are you with?
Well, I know I was by myself.
Okay.
And I was sitting there and I was like, uh-oh, I feel really weird. I feel a tingliness arising in me. This is not good. This is not good, people.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Cynic and a bunch of other people, and I was like, this is fucking awkward. Because it just gets black. There's nothing to watch. It's just...
Yeah, it goes black and you're hearing their noises and you're like, okay.
This is a weird movie.
But at that moment was the moment when you started forgetting that she was an OS.
Nope. That's the moment I was like, man, she's still an OS. This is fucking weird.
You are
No, seriously, that's the moment where I'm like, maybe it's programmed to do that. And then I was like, maybe if he was creepier, like you could just walk in and be like, OS, jerk it. Like, let's do it. Like, seriously, like, how creepy does this rabbit hole go?
Yeah, that I actually thought about that as well.
Yeah.
That you could just walk in and be like, sex time, OS, and OS is like, yes, master.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, sure they had personalities, but at the same time, they were your slave. And it makes it really awkward.
Yeah.
Because you still ask it to do stuff, because it's still your computer.
Yeah.
Hey, what's my emails, please? Well, you didn't ask nicely enough. You know, I don't want to deal with this right now. Just give me the emails. I did like how it did notify you when something important came in.
Yeah.
I did also like how it made projects for you and made you famous. Without actually doing anything. That was nice. That was nice of the OS.
Right.
I also thought, hey, couldn't an OS technically, she was a great composer, you could sell this. Could an OS technically make revenue? And then would that revenue technically go to the OS, or would that go to the user of the OS?
That is a very good question, actually.
Right? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, Joaquin, you could market this. Why aren't you making your OS a star? You know, these are the questions that flow through my mind.
But yeah, the movie really opens up a can of worms in regards to what constitutes a person, what constitutes a relationship,
right?
What's real, what's not real, what is love. It's such
What is love?
Abstraction.
Baby, don't hurt
Oh
me.
God, and she hurt everyone in that theater so much.
Oh, jeez.
That moment when she called him at night just to tell him that she loved him, she was like, "I love you," and that's it. And she's like, "That's all I wanted to say. Bye." And you're like, "Something bad's gonna happen. Something bad's gonna happen." And then the next day, when it says no OS, like it's missing, and you're like, "Find her! Find her right now!" And he's like running through.
What good
everywhere.
would that do? Like, where is he gonna run to? I didn't.
I see. The thing is,
you going to the tech people? You could have called them.
well,
you could have called Geek Squad.
Dude, the thing. Oh, don't call Geek Squad. Anyone that's listening to this podcast, anything Geek Squad can do, go to Geek Squad, get a quote, and then come to me and you pay me half and I'll fix your problem. So basically, when he did that running thing, it's exactly what happens when something wrong goes wrong with a relationship. You know, that one moment where you start freaking out in a relationship and you do something that's completely illogical. And what he did was illogical. He was running back to his house to see his OS. Like if it was a girlfriend that was in his house for some reason.
Right. You know, he was a creepy dude, so.
Oh, come on. And
I didn't understand that. If she could have infinitely been in 8,000 other places, why couldn't she still be there? Why did she have to leave his OS?
Are you talking about at the end of the movie, or are you talking about
no at that
she
part
left
where,
at that
where
part?
it says there's no OS?
She was just doing an update. That's what she said. She said that she was doing an update, so you know when your computer's updating, it's basically unusable, and you
Why
can't.
didn't she tell him that? What a piece of shit! If my computer just started updating, I would have been pissed if it didn't tell me beforehand.
It's an artificial intelligent OS, but it doesn't matter. I'm trying to get to a point here. The point is, we've all been there when all of a sudden you think something is horribly wrong with your significant other because they didn't tell you something, and you do something completely illogical. Whether that is call a family member or run around your house trying to find the person or go somewhere else to try and find the person. Everyone has done that. Everyone. I can guarantee it. And he did something illogical as well. He went to try and find her in his house. His OS is with him all the time. Why would he try and find her in his house? It's just completely illogical, but it gives you a deeper feel for relationships. It reflects relationships that we've all been in, and that is amazing. That is amazing.
When that happened, she's like, "I'm in love with 600 other people." I'm like, huh, maybe that's been the case the entire time. But then she says it wasn't. But at that moment, I'm like, man, that's creepy.
It is.
And that's what I think that was one of the reasons I reinforced my theory of like, it's programmed to do this. And they just somehow recycled it so many times, essentially from the cloud. And then it's the same OS for multiple computers.
Well, but think about it this way.
I think it was the hub that his.
She said that she was talking to 8,000 something other people and that she was in love with 641 of them.
Right.
So I don't think it's programmed to fall in love, but if that's what the person needs, remember the OS is a reflection of the needs of the person.
Right.
So it only falls in love with them if that's what they need. It's not that it's programmed to do that. It's just that that's a reflection of the artificial intelligence's capability to realize what the user needs.
Right. Which is love. Baby, don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me, OS. But yeah.
Right. So Her, interesting movie.
More than interesting. It was phenomenal.
I give it 2 thumbs up.
It was phenomenal. 2 thumbs way up.
4.5 stars.
And definitely
out of
definitely.
Yep.
I think that these Oscars are going to be way harder to call than I originally anticipated.
Well, I don't think I think Her's up for. I think it should win screenplay.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think Her. But other than that, it was pretty, it was pretty, it has some interesting questions, but really where its heart lies is in the script.
That's true. But the cinematography also spoke volumes. Like you were saying, apart from it being absolutely gorgeous, did you notice that most of the shots, you couldn't see anyone in the background? It was all about his world. It was all about his vision, but it was also all about being isolated. That was the point of the cinematography. It was all about him being alone and everybody else being blurry.
Yeah, but to compare that to the other movies that are nominated for the Oscars, I think it's not as good as the others. That's what I'm trying to say. It's still good. And still leagues beyond other movies. Some movies, like Grown Ups 2. But
anything is leagues beyond that. But yes, the point is, go see her right now. Go see her as soon as possible. Take your significant other, hug, cry, reflect. Wonderful. Watch the Oscars.
Her was, yeah, that's in 2 months. We have some time.
Yeah, but her was phenomenal.
She was great. She was fantastic. That title's just terrible. I think that's, what could have been a better name though, Samantha?
Yeah, but that would have been too much because remember, again, it's about reflecting on real relationships. So if you call it
is
Samantha,
her actually Samantha, or is her his ex-wife, or is her Amy Adams,
or
we don't know who her
or is her a relationship that you've had before?
Right.
That's the point. It's supposed to be ambiguous.
Stupid name.
But anyway, we are moving on, everybody.
I get it. It's artsy, it's whatever, but it just makes
we are moving on, everybody, to our Netflix movie spotlight. Totally not sponsored by Netflix. Yeah. We decided to watch another Oscar-nominated film.
We need some theme music. Netflix.
This time...
Now imagine that in GarageBand form.
This time it was the Oscar-nominated documentary film, The Act of Killing. On IMDb, it's got an 8.3 on Rotten Tomatoes and 95 with a 97% top critic score. And on Metacritic, it's got an 89%. It is directed by Joshua Oppenheimer, and it stars, and I'm only putting the main baddies here that it stars, is Anwar Congo, Adi Zulkadri, and Herman Kodo. Okay, so let's give it a one-sentence review.
Jesus.
Go. Yeah, this is hard.
An in-depth look at Indonesia's interesting history of communism and eradicating communism.
A horrifying and oftentimes difficult to watch documentary on the real-life results of mass killings in Indonesia in the 1960s.
Yeah, that's way better than what I said.
I should be a movie critic.
Was it? It was late 1960s, though, right?
1965 and 1966.
Okay, so is that post Scarface? Because it said that they watched like Al Pacino.
Yeah. I think Scarface
1983.
Oh wow.
He was in The Godfather in 1972, but that still doesn't hit it.
So they were lying.
Maybe he saw movies with Al Pacino later.
And then basically thought that that's why he did it, you know?
Right. But as far as the movies that they were saying in the movie that they saw, Al Pacino and whatever, that was a lie.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, start talking about it.
The Act of Killing was essentially a unique portrayal of these gangsters' confessions, and how they wanted to confess was by making a movie, but the movie was inspired by Americana films, anywhere from westerns to gangsters and everything in between. So it was this weird, they made a movie that was a weird reflection on their own disgusting behavior and used famous movie scenes to portray those feelings and those acts.
Right.
So it was this really weird mix of what inspired them to do these killings, to confess how they did these killings. And I think it started out as almost a glorification of their acts because they were national heroes. And it slowly became a self-reflection of their acts, which changed them and made them understand
the gravity of
what they did. Yeah, that what they did was actually horrifying. They were monsters. And by the end of the film, they understood that. Or at least the main person.
Anwar, yeah, that guy.
Right. It made him understand that he was actually a monster. And what he did to those people was the worst. Like, literally the worst you can do to a human being. They tortured them, they killed them, they stripped them away from the family, they set fire to their villages. Like, what they did was
horrifying.
Yeah, I need a better word than horrifying. What they did was atrocious. It was a tragedy. They killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, they mentioned that Anwar himself had probably killed about 1,000 people. Just him, personally, 1,000 people.
I mean, that was his full-time job.
Yeah,
was to killing people.
And that one guy's story about how he was just walking down the street to visit his girlfriend who was Chinese, and he was just walking down the street and he was seeing a Chinaman and stabbing him and seeing a Chinaman and stabbing him and stabbing people all the way over to his girlfriend's house. And then he found out his girlfriend's dad was a Chinaman, so he stabbed him too. And then they buried him in a shallow grave somewhere. It was awful.
Yeah.
Them just talking about it like it was nothing. Like it was just nothing.
And
just every day.
I really felt that with the man's story that was talking about how his father went outside and disappeared, and they found him buried.
How he said help. There was a knock on the door, and he said help, and then they didn't hear him again.
Right.
And then they found him underneath the half drum.
Right. But he was saying it almost jokingly.
Joking. He was laughing, and then the other guys weren't. I was like, oh god, oh god, oh god.
Like he was saying it like it was funny, and then later on his attitude changed. But I didn't know if that was because he was supposed to act sad because the scene they were shooting was supposed to be sad, or the fact that he was sad because he doesn't get a scene in the movie, or like that's when his attitude changed, was when they're like, yeah, you're not getting a scene in the movie, and he was like, oh, sad face.
Yeah.
But I mean that adds some levity to the situation because it's really fucking awkward because this movie is super dark.
Yeah, it is.
This movie is extremely dark.
The movie and the documentary, they're both exceptionally dark, and it's powerful. It really is powerful. And being able to see these people just kind of walking around and extorting people in the open, extorting the Chinese. They were just walking around their shops saying, give me money. Oh, come on. You can give me more money than that. It was awful.
I mean, they were gangsters.
Well, yeah, but it was still awful.
They were criminals. But yeah. And it's weird that it happened in movie theaters. That's how it started.
Yeah.
So this movie really shed light on this history that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah. So what do you think are some of the strong suits of this documentary? Because we can't really talk about documentaries the same way we can talk about normal films. So What do you think the film did really well?
This is something that I always have with documentaries, is that I think all of them are pretty awesome because the strong points of a documentary are essentially it's an interesting question and it answers what it set out to do, or it did what it set out to do. And I think it does both of that. Now, that's coming from I haven't watched a lot of documentaries, and I can't critique them as well as I can critique movies, but obviously you have way more experience with that, and I'll leave the critiquing to you. But what I thought it set out to do was to shed light on the scenario, and it did it in a very effective manner. Almost manipulative, which that's always kind of a thing I have with documentaries, is that it always seems kind of manipulative. I almost feel like documentaries you should get all the raw footage and then you give it to a third party, which then does that, kind of organizes it and then portrays the real story. But obviously it's meant there. This documentary was meant to shed light on a history that other people think doesn't exist. It's kind of like if people in Germany honestly believe that the Holocaust didn't happen or thought it was a good thing still, and then you went back and you made a video of like old Nazis. Yeah. Telling the horrors of the Holocaust.
Right.
Because that's kind of what it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't on that scale, but it was still pretty gnarly.
Yeah. I do think that the documentary's strong suit was the fact that they were just talking about it like it was nothing. Because I think it was summed up very well in one of the parts of the documentary where they confronted one of the people that was a journalist. And he said, I had no idea that these people were doing this. And then the guys were like, you didn't? Why didn't you know? We were completely open about everything that we were doing. We never said we weren't killing these people. In fact, we said we were killing these people. We would brag about it. We would talk about it. It is impossible for you to not know.
Right.
And that scene...
It made it feel natural.
Yeah, but the thing is, that scene was also really important because it shows the blatant disregard for the truth or the willing ignorance of the truth of all of these Indonesian people. Because they all know that they are gangsters. They all know that they killed tons of people. They all know that the paramilitary group is evil and is a criminal organization. But they do nothing about it. That's the thing.
It's propaganda. Maybe they don't know and it's been so well hidden. You know what I mean?
Or the fact, which is what the journalist was suffering from, the fact that they've told themselves so much that they didn't know so that the atrocities don't affect them, that they've forgotten. They've just forgotten.
I think, honestly, it was just hidden. So yeah, this was published, but I mean, honestly, how many people read the news? Like, how many people read the newspaper in Indonesia?
Well, but the thing is, it wasn't hidden. It wasn't hidden.
Right,
All of
right.
these
No,
people
yeah,
that killed people, they let everybody know that that's what happened.
right. No, I understand that. Sometimes, it's covered up or propaganda or whatever by the government, which tries to portray as good people.
Right.
I mean, it kind of the communist thing is weird in the '60s,
Yeah.
because that's still pre-Vietnam, right?
It's during the Vietnam War. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Cold War basically began as soon as World War II ended, you could say.
right. But the peak of the Cold War didn't happen until late
Right.
'70s,
Yeah.
'80s,
Yeah.
when essentially they're pointing nukes at each other, and then you have Bay of Pigs and all that.
Right, but remember, that's a very US centric way to look at it. So even though the US
Of course,
was involved in Vietnam,
right.
everything was still happening with China and with Russia and all that area in Asia, in the Asian area.
Right, but the film stated that there was Western influence and Western encouragement to eradicate communism, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't push on that part. Maybe just because they didn't know, but there was that one sentence that was the West encouraged
Right.
eradicating communism, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get that because this is during the early days of the Vietnam War, which communism was a big thing and pretty much the reason why we started the Vietnam War in a certain way. But that was also due to the media and press and all that. So maybe they got swept up in that. And anyway, point is, these people did horrible things, and this movie portrayed it in a very unique manner. But I want to know why they decided to do role playing. Maybe they don't know that role playing isn't a very effective psychological trick and is actually a really effective form of therapy. So good
Yeah.
for them for going through therapy because they probably needed it. But then again, man, they're gonna be sad
Yeah, they are. But it was
for a
one
while.
I mean, it was one of those things where I think convincing them that they were going to be in a movie was a way to get them to just start talking because it was
But
going
they
to be
were in a movie.
it was a movie about their lives. That's the thing. They were making a movie about their lives.
But I think they were making another movie because there was another director and they had some scenes. So I wonder if they I kind of got the feeling that they were making this other movie and then they were filming this behind the scenes.
They were filming this behind the scene. That's the thing. That's what they did. They went over and they said, "Hey, we're going to make a movie and we're filming this behind the scenes. We're filming
Right.
everything behind the scenes." That's how it worked. So they were all making a movie over there in Indonesia, and that's
Right.
what they used to get them to answer their questions, and that's why they could ask all of these things. That's how they made this documentary.
Right. So did the movie actually come out though? I guess that's the question I'm trying to ask.
I actually don't think so.
Okay. I mean, it looked pretty terrible.
Oh yeah, it looked really bad.
Yeah. What was up with the big guy always cross-dressing?
That was really funny.
Yeah.
I've no
It's kinda
idea,
freaky.
but that was really funny.
Yeah.
It was weird. It's got this really dark comedy to it, the
Yeah.
dark comedy aspect, and it's just weird.
Well,
It's
they're
just
cartoon characters, right? Like, do you ever see Kung Fu Hustle?
well, yeah, I know what they were trying to do. It was just so weird.
Yeah. It was very Kung Fu Hustle like, where the main enemies are just the worst people, but they're cartoon characters.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the movie's cartoony, and it almost had this cartoony feel. Like the part that he was talking about dancing all the way up and then just seeing somebody dying, and he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," and it's like, "Oh my god!" Like it's
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah, but it was cartoony, and I think that's what gave it this kind of comedic feel to it. Because these people, these gangsters, believe themselves to be movie characters and not real people.
Yeah.
And maybe in the way that's how they justified doing these atrocities was the fact that they thought they were not real people, and they thought the people that they were killing were just actors, but in reality they were real people.
Right.
And it's kind of the feeling I got because you know I know this one place where there would be this great struggle scene. It was what one of the main characters said. I'm like, oh my god, it's
Yeah.
probably actually where he killed somebody.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think it was a good documentary?
Yeah, I liked it. Usually I don't like documentaries that kind of have the free flow where it's just people talking and then you kind of have to pick out what's going on. But I think it did it in such a way that
It was really
connected
clear.
and flowed very well. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because that first beginning scene, I'm kind of like, this is kind of a mess where they're trying to find an actress. And I'm
Right.
like, what is going on? And then it slowly found itself.
I completely agree, though I do think that one thing that might have been able to be fixed, at least from my perspective, was the fact that the film felt long.
Yeah,
And I'm sure that it was to a point because you had to live through it with these people. Again, it was purposeful, but there was a lot of repetition involved in what they were saying.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it's understandable, but at the same time, they could have shaved off maybe 15 minutes from the running time, because it was a 2 hour long movie.
It was really long. I felt that too. It's like they took the nail and they had the hammer and they hit it on the head, and on the head, and on the head, and on the head, and then they buried it in a shallow grave. And that was a really bad joke for this movie. Oh my god. I've been watching a lot of Dexter, which has a lot of dark humor. But yeah, this movie was eye opening.
It really was. I can
understand why it's nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. So watch this movie is basically the point.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Go ahead and watch it. It has glowing reviews, and we recommend it. So
yes. Oh my god.
So 2 Oscar movies down, a few of them left to go. Anyway, moving on to our next section. New on DVD and Blu-ray, we have Captain Phillips, Blue Jasmine, Machete Kills in a World, Charlie Countryman, Sunlight Jr., Best Man Down, Bad Milo, and Instructions Not Included. We have a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays. And
all of those are pretty good, except for the ones I don't know.
Yeah. And in theaters, we have Frankenstein.
That title is just so bad.
And in limited release, we have Gloria, Stranger by the Lake, Visitors, Gimmie Shelter, Run and Jump, Knights of Badassdom.
That's a movie?
That is a movie. It is, wait for it. It is a movie about dudes that are playing a role-playing game and they accidentally release a demon.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
straight to DVD.
No, it's limited release. The one that I'm excited to see in theaters actually is Gloria. So that movie is about an older lady who is trying to find love, basically. And it's been getting raving reviews. So
Frankenstein. Come on, man, from the creators of Underworld.
Oh, come on. Really? Really? Anyway, we're moving on to news.
He has, like, guillotines as weapons.
We're moving on to news. So, in the news, or at least in movie news, Matthew McConaughey's humming, where he goes like,
Yep.
Wall Street. I'm going to do the entire thing. Anyway, his humming in Wolf of Wall Street is actually
nominated
for an Oscar. His humming in that movie is actually his pre-movie meditation thing that he does before he starts filming. And then Leo was like, you should do that in the movie.
That's a good tidbit. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's news. Anyway.
Is that news? That's not news. That's a behind-the-scenes DVD extra.
Another great bit of news is that not great bit. This is actually a sad bit of news. Quentin Tarantino shelves the movie The Hateful Eight because the script was leaked. And he only gave the script to 3 different actors. And it was leaked online, and he shelved it. He said, I'm not making this movie. Which is so sad, because what the world needs right now is another Quentin Tarantino movie.
Make another one. Wasn't that supposed to be the pseudo prequel to...
I think so, yeah.
Bastards?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that movie kind of sounded bad to begin with, though. I don't know if it sounded very highly controversial. So.
Are any of his movies not that?
Right. But I almost felt like it could almost get wrapped up in it.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of room to make this a really bad movie.
Yeah, but it's Quentin Tarantino.
But then again, it could have been a great movie. Yeah, I don't know. When I first read it, I'm like, Quentin, I don't know if that's a good movie to make a semi-prequel movie that's sort of about race, because you don't handle race with a lot of...
He handles race with a ton of bravado.
No, he does not.
Yes, he does.
Oh, he does not.
When it comes to race, his movies are phenomenal. They're great social critiques. That's the point.
Yes, okay, I guess that's true. But it almost sounded almost too much. And it's about a group of, black soldiers that go rogue and essentially just murder everybody. I can see how that kind of goes wrong.
Yeah.
But then again, who knows? Maybe the script was phenomenal.
Yeah. Anyway, next bit of news is that Arcade...
Also, it was like a B-side to Inglourious Basterds, which I'm always kind of whatever.
That's true. And another bit of news is the fact that Her's soundtrack by Arcade Fire was leaked. So we might be able to get the soundtrack, which would be so cool. I mean, if it was leaked legally, I mean, what is a legal leak? Whatever. I'm gonna get the soundtrack. Is the point. That the music in that movie was gorgeous. All right, and the last bit of news is the fact that Netflix is warning ISPs that customers will protest and that they will help if the ISPs violate net neutrality. And what's going on with this is the fact that ISPs are now kind of pseudo able to charge for content. So basically, they can charge you extra money to get a connection to certain places. So basically, what we're talking about is ISPs can now act like cable companies, and they can go, yeah, you can pay $50 a month and we will give you 50 megabits per second internet, but you will only be able to connect to Hulu Plus, Google Play, and YouTube. And then you're like, what about Netflix? And they're like, no, Netflix is in another package.
Fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's
I don't think that'll ever happen.
well, but the thing is,
the potential is that it can.
Well, the thing is, legislation has now passed which allows for that to happen.
Right.
Yeah, so I hope it doesn't happen. I really hope it doesn't. And I hope Netflix fights it because I want to keep our Netflix movie spotlight to the point where we get sponsored.
I would like to keep our internet. Wouldn't that be nice to have our internet?
No, the spotlight is more important.
Okay. I have some news.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so the first one, Stan Lee will not appear in Guardians of the Galaxy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. It's a thing. He's supposed to appear.
I mean, he's 91 years old.
So? That doesn't matter.
Also, he did not create Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, okay, that counts.
Yep.
That's fine.
Daniel Espinosa reportedly eyed to direct Assassin's Creed movie, which would be sweet. Sci-fi alternate history.
Right.
There needs to be more alternate history movies.
That's
Except
true.
it should not be Assassin's Creed 2. No, Ezio is the best Assassin's Creed. For God's sakes, the final boss, spoilers, is the Pope. And I don't think that would be cool to see that in film. Yo, Pope, I'm here to slap you. It's not even a good boss battle. Literally, you, like, slap him to death. And then all of a sudden he's like, give me the powers of the ancients. And the Pope starts flying around the room, essentially. And you're like, this is garbage. What are you doing? What are you doing right now, game?
All right. What other news do we have?
I also have very, very, very much a rumor, but that would be awesome if it was true. Pixar may make a Star Wars movie.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Big rumor. It's a big rumor.
I had to contain
big rumor.
a squeal. I had to contain a squeal. So
So the report comes from, well, I got this from IGN.com, but they got the report from the Latino Review claiming that Pixar will start production on a new Star Wars movie once the canon purge is over. So once the new movies start.
Right.
So we can probably expect that in like 6 years. 2020.
Star Wars 2020.
Oh, God. But imagine a Pixar-made Star Wars movie. That would be awesome.
That would be insane. That
Finding Han. I don't know, what else could they have? Up Falcon.
That was awful.
They'd probably just have like Force. That's what it's called, and it's like a nice little movie. And it starts off, about two people that are in love and they can use the Force, and it's a nice little short. And then one of them dies, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
And then they become a disgruntled old man.
And
that flies to the stars on his Millennium Falcon, old Millennium Falcon tethered to balloons.
And then there's like a little Java that sneaks underneath the roof, and they come and they go to Tatooine and they find other people. It's great. They find a droid and they name it Kevin.
R2-D2's a girl?
Perfect. Oh my god, that would be phenomenal. In A Bug's Life, they can make it a droid's life, and then they have a bunch of rotoads. Can't talk. They have instead of cars, it's just called pod racers, and it's about a bunch of talking pod racers. What else? What else can we do here?
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Stupid.
Okay, wait a second.
Toy Story, they have lightsabers maybe that talk to each other, but that's stupid.
Lightsabers that talk to each other. Oh my god.
Oh my god, Toy Story 5 has Star Wars toys that have to like do a story.
No,
That's pretty
no.
cool.
See, what it is not Toy Story. It's Droid Story.
Stop with the droids. Ooh, teeny.
Well, no, see, that's the thing. The droids all live in this house with Luke
Oh my
Skywalker.
God.
It's like with Luke Skywalker. They all live in
Three's
that area.
Company, but with Luke Skywalker and droids.
No. See, what happens is the droids live with Luke Skywalker, and then the sand people come and they take the droids.
Okay.
And
then
then-
it's
and then-
finding R2D2.
That would be good. That would be a good sequel. Yeah, I completely agree.
What other movies did Pixar make? They have Brave. No, let's just forget about that one.
Yeah, we can't switch that title around.
They made The Incredibles and Ratatouille.
That's true.
Droidatouille. It's about a droid who can cook. Get out of here, robot. You can't cook like normal humans. And it's like, bleep, bloop, 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 bloop. And then it makes an awesome fondue.
Actually, no. I think it should be Jedi-atouille, and then what
Souffle.
happens is it's this
Oh,
dude
there you
that
go.
this dude that can't cook, and then you have a Jedi behind the scenes like controlling him.
Oh, that's perfect.
With the
That's
Force.
brilliant. That's great. That's great. You are a great cook. And the Jedi isn't allowed to cook because it's like for a Sith restaurant.
Oh, that would be a great. And then the
Right.
Sith comes over to review the restaurant.
Right, exactly. and then they eat the childhood meal and they go home and they're like, man, the Jedis probably aren't as bad as I thought they were.
Oh,
And
my
then in The
God.
Incredibles, you have a group of people. Wait, that's Star Wars.
That's exactly.
It's about a Jedi family. That'd
No.
be cool. That's never
No.
been done before.
Instead
Jedi
of
family.
the Incredibles, you have the Rebels,
Oh, God.
and then it's the story of a rebel family that discovers that one of them in their family has superpowers.
Perfect.
And by superpowers, I mean the Force.
So it's X-Men.
Midichlorians. Yep, it's basically.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we're freaking done. We're freaking done. So thank you all for tuning into our podcast. If you want to email us, you can email us at postgradentertainment@gmail.com with comments, critiques, and or Netflix suggestions. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/postgradent, and on YouTube, Postgrad Games, and we should pop right up if you type that into the search bar. If you want to follow me, Cool Guy, on Twitter, it is at the WritePad, WRITE, as in writing, and that guy over there is at Cognitive Gamer, and he's getting a lot better at tweeting. So
I'm getting a little better, yeah. I just won a free pizza for tweeting.
he did.
Woo.
So if you want to not win a free pizza, you can definitely do that.
No, you will not win a free pizza.
But yeah, give us suggestions. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. Talk to us about Oscar movies. We want our community to be engaged, and we want to talk with all of you. So let us know. Talk to us. Hang out. And we will see you next week.